Days before our wedding, I taped my note to the mirror above his mother's new makeup bags and walked out with one suitcase. My fiancé had spent 6 hours helping her unpack the night before. By 8 a.m., he had 41 missed calls. I blocked them all. The makeup bags were lined up on my bathroom counter like they belonged there. Not the guest bathroom, not a shelf in the hallway closet. My bathroom. The one connected to the master bedroom I'd been sharing with Declan for 2 years. 7 bags, designer, coordinated, still with the tissue paper poking out of 2 of them, sitting right next to my moisturizer like they'd been paying rent. I picked one up. Fine star. Another one. Charlotte Tilbury. A third. Pat McGrath. I set it back down slowly because my hands were doing that thing where they go very still before something in me decides what kind of day it's going to be. It was 11 at night. Declan wasn't in bed. He wasn't in the living room either. I found him in the garage assembling a shelving unit that hadn't existed when I'd left for work that morning. "What's this for?" I asked. He didn't look up. Alan wrenched turning. "Mom needed somewhere to put her stuff." Her stuff. She's got more coming tomorrow. The movers are bringing the rest of the boxes from her storage unit. I leaned against the doorframe. "Declan, she's staying with us for a bit, Nora. I told you. You told me she was visiting for the wedding." "Right." "And then staying a bit after." "Define a bit." He finally looked up, and the thing about Declan was that he had this face. Open, sort of boyish, almost genuinely confused. That made it very hard to tell whether he was lying or whether he just arranged reality in his head so cleanly that he didn't realize he was rewriting it. "She sold her condo, Nora. I told you about that. You told me she was thinking about selling her condo. Well, she sold it." "When?" "6 weeks ago." I stared at him. He went back to the Allen wrench. "And you didn't mention that because I knew you'd make it into a thing. You moved your mother into our house 2 days before our wedding without asking me, and I'm the one making it into a thing. She's not moved in. She's staying. She has 7 bags of makeup on my bathroom counter. She needed a mirror with good lighting." I almost laughed. Almost. But my throat caught it, and what came out was nothing, which was worse. This wasn't new. Not really. Declan's mother, Rosalind, had been running operations on our relationship since month 4. She called it helping. She helped pick our apartment. She helped choose the couch. She helped adjust the thermostat because she'd read an article about humidity in wood floors. She helped plan the wedding, then replanned it after she decided the venue was too modern and that the caterer I'd chosen didn't understand presentation. Every time I pushed back, Declan got the face. The confused one. The "I don't see what the big deal is" one, and I'd feel my own voice shrink because there's something disorienting about being told over and over that the thing you're seeing isn't really there. But the makeup bags were real. I could feel them. 7 little monuments to a boundary I hadn't agreed to move. I went back inside. Rosalind was in the kitchen, drinking tea from the mug I'd bought in Nashville on my first solo trip after college. The one with the chip on the handle that I loved specifically because it was mine. "Oh, Nora, honey," she said, not getting up. "I hope you don't mind I reorganized the fridge. You had things in the wrong drawers." "There aren't wrong drawers, Rosalind." "Well, produce shouldn't sit above dairy. It's cross-contamination. That's meat. You're thinking of meat," she waved her hand. Either way, I stood there in my own kitchen, and I watched her sip from my mug and look at me like I was the guest. I went to bed. Declan came in at 1:30. He smelt like sawdust and that particular brand of righteous exhaustion men get when they've done manual labor they volunteered for. "No one are up," he said. "Great. Mom's stuff should all fit by tomorrow afternoon." I didn't answer. He fell asleep in 4 minutes. I counted. The next day was a Wednesday, 36 hours before the wedding. I came home from work at 6. Declan's truck was in the driveway. So, was a U-Haul. Not a small one. I sat in my car for a full minute, engine off, just looking at it. A 16-foot U-Haul, backed up almost to the garage door, rear ramp down, boxes stacked inside like a proper move. Not a visit. Not staying for a bit. A move. I went inside. The living room was different. Not subtly different, decimatingly different. The coffee table had been shifted toward the window to make room for a side table I'd never seen. Walnut. with a doily on it. A new floor lamp, not ours, brass with a fringed shade, was next to the armchair. A crocheted throw I'd never seen was draped over the back of the couch. My throw pillows, the gray linen ones I'd picked out at the market on Whitmer Street, had been replaced with floral ones, actual floral, pink cabbage roses on cream fabric, like a bed and breakfast in a town that time forgot. On the wall above the TV, someone had hung a framed cross-stitch that said "Bless this home" in pink and gold thread. The nail was new. They put a nail in my wall. I walked to the kitchen. New canisters on the counter. Ceramic, with hand-painted labels that said flour and sugar in cursive. A bread box that hadn't been there that morning. My magnetic knife strip had been moved to the side of the fridge to make room for a mounted paper towel holder with a decorative wooden bracket. My spice rack had been shifted to a lower shelf to make room for a set of ceramic roosters. 3 of them, in descending size, arranged in a line facing the stove like a tiny judgmental audience. Ceramic roosters. I could hear them before I saw them. In the garage, Declan and Rosalind sorting through boxes, talking in that easy rhythm they had when it was just the 2 of them. Half sentences, inside jokes. The casual choreography of 2 people who'd never had to negotiate shared space with anyone else. "Where do you want this one?" Declan asked. "Oh, just stack it with the kitchen boxes. I'll unpack those tonight. I'll help." "You're a gem." I stood in the hallway and I could see through the open garage door that there were easily 30 boxes, maybe more, labeled, color-coded. Rosalind had used green tape for kitchen, blue for bedroom, yellow for bathroom. She'd color-coded her takeover. "Declan," I said. He turned, sweating. Happy. Actually happy. Like this was the most natural thing in the world. "Hey, babe. You're home early. It's 6. "Oh, right." We got started around noon. 6 hours. Yeah, she had a lot of stuff in storage. More than we thought. We? Me and Mom. "Declan, this is a full move. This isn't visiting." Rosalind appeared behind him, holding a box marked "Linens, Master," in blue tape. "Master. Nora, sweetheart, don't worry. I'll stay out of your hair. You won't even know I'm here. You relabeled a box." "Master, you're putting your linens in our bedroom. The guest room closet is small." I figured. "You figured you'd put your things in our room. Just the overflow." Declan stepped in. "Nora, come on. It's just linens. It's not just linens. It's a U-Haul. It's 30 boxes. It's ceramic roosters in my kitchen, and a cross-stitch on my wall, and her makeup on my bathroom counter, and you spent 6 hours unloading her life into our house 2 days before we're supposed to get married. And at no point did anyone ask me." The garage went quiet. Declan did the face. The confused one. "I told you she was coming." "For the wedding, Declan." "For a visit." Plans changed. Plans don't change. People change them. You change them. Without me. Rosalind set the box down carefully and put her hand over her heart. "If I'm not welcome, don't do that," I said. "Don't turn this into rejection." "I'm not rejecting you. I'm telling you that nobody asked me if my house was available for permanent occupancy. And that's a problem. It's Declan's house, too," she said. And there it was. The card she'd been holding. The little blade she'd been keeping polished. I looked at Declan. He looked at the floor. "Tell me she's wrong," I said. "She's not wrong. It is my house, too." "That's not what I asked." He didn't answer. He picked up another box and carried it inside. I watched him go. I watched Rosalind pick up her linens box and follow him, her slippers scuffing against the concrete like she owned every inch of it. I went upstairs. I sat on the bed. Our bed. For now. I thought about the wedding. Saturday. 2 days away. 63 guests. A venue I'd booked after Rosalind vetoed the first 2. A caterer she'd approved. Flowers she'd chosen. A seating chart she'd rearranged because she didn't like being at table 3. I thought about the last 2 years. Every compromise that wasn't a compromise. Every boundary that got moved while I was standing on it. Every time I said this isn't okay and got told I was overreacting. And I thought about the next 40 years. Rosalind at the breakfast table. Rosalind rearranging the nursery. Rosalind telling me how to feed my children, how to load the dishwasher, how to fold a fitted sheet the right way, which apparently only one person in the world knows, and it's her. I opened my closet. I pulled out one suitcase. Not the big one. The carry-on. The one I took on work trips. Enough for a week. I packed 7 outfits. Toiletries. My laptop. Chargers. The folder with my important documents. Passport. Birth certificate. The lease cosign. My grandmother's ring that I had kept in a velvet pouch on the top shelf since I'd moved in. Then I sat at the small desk in the corner, and I wrote a note. Not long, not dramatic. I wasn't performing. I was communicating. I wrote, Declan, I'm leaving. Not because of the makeup bags or the boxes or the roosters, because when I told you I wasn't okay with this, you picked up another box and kept going. That's the marriage you're offering me. A life where I say stop and you keep moving. I can't live like that. I won't. The wedding is off. I've already started calling people. Don't contact me, Nora. I folded it once. Went into the bathroom. The makeup bags were still there. 7 of them. Rosalind had added an 8th since that morning. A quilted cosmetics case with their initials monogrammed on the zipper, right next to my toothbrush. I picked up the tape dispenser from the desk drawer. I taped the note to the mirror right above the bags. Eye level. Impossible to miss. Then I picked up my suitcase, walked down the stairs, and opened the front door. From the garage, I could hear them, still unpacking. Declan was laughing at something, Rosalind said. The sound of packing tape being pulled. A box cutter clicking. They didn't hear me leave. I got in my car and drove. The first call I made was to my maid of honor, Presley. She answered on the second ring. Hey, bride, what's up? The wedding's off. Silence. I'm sorry, what? I left. It's done. I need you to help me call the guest list. Presley didn't ask if I was sure. She didn't ask what happened. She'd met Rosalind. She'd watched me at brunch 3 months ago when Rosalind told the table that Nora's dress choice was brave, and Presley had squeezed my hand under the table so hard it left a mark. I'll take the first half, she said. You take the second. I'll text you the split. Thank you. Where are you going? The Wyndham off Mercer. Do you need me to come? Not yet. Tomorrow, maybe. Call me if you need me before then. I hung up. I drove 20 minutes to the hotel, checked in, set my suitcase on the bed, and opened my laptop. I started calling. The caterer first. Emilio answered on the 3rd ring. Kitchen noise behind him. His team had already prepped the appetizer components, the bruschetta bases, the fig and prosciutto skewers, but I caught them before the entree order went in. He was surprisingly kind about it. Didn't ask questions. Just said he'd hold the deposit as a credit for up to a year. You never know, he said. I didn't tell him I did know. The florist. Margot had done the centerpiece mock-ups already. I'd approved them 2 weeks ago. The cream and sage arrangement, that was the one decision Rosalind hadn't overruled. I could hear Margot trying not to ask why. She said she'd hold the arrangements for 3 days in case I changed my mind. I told her I wouldn't. She said okay very quietly and wished me well. The venue. The Ashford estate coordinator, a woman named Gretchen, who I had spoken to exactly 19 times over the past 8 months, took the news with professional calm. She'd heard this before, you could tell. She knew the cadence. She said the cancellation fee would be 50% of the remaining balance. I said I understood. She emailed the invoice before we hung up. The officiant, Pastor Winfield, was gentle in a way that made me grip the phone harder. The photographer, Tate, said oh no 3 times, and then asked if I needed anything. The DJ left a voicemail saying he was sorry and that the deposit was non-refundable, but he'd waive the equipment fee. The rental company for the chairs and linens processed the cancellation in under 2 minutes. They had a form for it. The bakery for the cake, 3 tiers, lemon elderflower. Rosalind's choice after she quietly campaigned against my chocolate raspberry for 6 weeks, said the cake was already assembled and offered to donate it to a local shelter. I said yes. Each call was its own small demolition. Brief, direct, final. I made them one after another, barely pausing between, because if I paused I'd have to sit in the silence and at a shape I didn't want to look at yet. I was on call number 14 when my phone buzzed. A text from Declan. Found your note. What the hell, Nora? Then another. 12 seconds later. Call me. Then another. This isn't funny. Where are you? Then a call. I watched his name pulse on the screen and let it ring through. Voicemail. Then another call. 15 seconds apart. Then another. Then a text from Rosalind, which meant he'd told her, which meant they were standing in my bathroom together, reading my note together, looking at each other's reflections in the mirror I taped it to. Nora, this is very immature. Declan is devastated. Whatever you think happened, we can discuss it like adults. Running away solves nothing. Running away. Like I was 17. Like I'd snuck out a window instead of walked through a front door with a suitcase and a decision. I set the phone on the jar screen down, and kept calling vendors. Every few minutes it would vibrate, a low, insistent hum against the wood, like something trapped and trying to get out. By the time I finished, all 63 guests, all 9 vendors, the hotel block coordinator, and Declan's cousin, who was supposed to do a reading, it was 2 a.m. I picked up my phone. 41 missed calls. 37 from Declan. 4 from Rosalind. 41. I opened my contacts, selected Declan, blocked, selected Rosalind, blocked, selected Declan's sister Miranda, who I knew would call by morning, blocked, selected Declan's uncle Gareth, who had opinions about everything and would definitely weigh in, blocked. I set the phone down. The screen went dark. The hotel room was quiet, industrial carpet, stiff duvet, a painting of a boat on the wall, the kind of room that doesn't pretend to be home. I brushed my teeth with the travel toothbrush I'd packed. My real one was still on the counter, next to Rosalind's monogrammed case. I didn't cry, not because I was strong or numb or performing toughness for an audience of nobody. I just didn't have the kind of sadness that comes out that way. What I had was the flat, settled feeling of someone who'd finally stopped walking in a direction they knew was wrong. I slept 6 hours. Dreamless. When I woke up, it was 8 a.m. Thursday. The wedding would have been Saturday. I checked my phone. No new calls from Declan or Rosalind. They were blocked, but I had 9 texts from people I hadn't blocked yet. Declan's aunt, Nora. Please reconsider. Rosalind means well. Declan's college friend. Yo. Dex freaking out. Can you at least tell him where you are? My mother. I called Presley. She told me. I'm proud of you. Call when you're ready. Declan's cousin, the one who was supposed to do the reading. I respect your decision, but wanted to make sure you're safe. I responded to my mother. I'm okay. I'll call later today. I responded to the cousin. I'm safe. Thank you. I blocked the aunt and the college friend. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the lease. Our apartment. Joint names. But I'd signed first. I'd been the one to find the place, negotiate the rent, put down the deposit. Declan had been added later, at his request, after he moved in. I emailed my landlord, Crosby, a man in his 60s who wore suspenders without irony, and responded to every email within 11 minutes. Hi, Crosby. I'm writing to inform you that I'll be exercising the early termination clause in the lease. I'd like to discuss removing myself from the agreement and facilitating either a transfer or a move out. I'm happy to cover my share through the end of the notice period. Please let me know when you're available to discuss. He responded in 8 minutes. A record. Nora, I'm sorry to hear this. Let's talk at noon. I'll need both parties to sign a modification if you're removing yourself. Otherwise, we can discuss a full termination with 60 days' notice. I responded, Noon works. At 10, there was a knock on my hotel room door. I looked through the peephole. Declan. He was wearing the same shirt from the night before. Unshaven. Eyes red. He looked like he hadn't slept. Nora, I know you're in there. Your car's in the lot. The front desk wouldn't give me your room number, but I checked every floor. Took me 40 minutes. I didn't answer. Please, just open the door. 5 minutes. I leaned against the wall and waited. I could hear him shifting his weight. The carpet in the hallway was thin. I could hear every movement. I'll move her stuff out. All of it. Today. I'll call the U-Fall back. She can stay at the Marriott on Route 9. I'll pay for it. You should have said that yesterday, I said through the door, when I was standing right in front of you. Silence. A long one, the kind where you can almost hear someone rearranging the version of events they'd been carrying. Instead, you picked up a box and walked away. I know. I wasn't thinking. You were thinking. Fine, Declan. You were thinking this is easier than arguing. You were thinking she'll get over it. You were thinking the same thing you've been thinking for 2 years. That if you just keep going, eventually I'll stop pushing back. That's not. It is, and we both know it. He put his hand on the door. I could see the shadow of his fingers through the gap at the bottom. Don't do this, Nora. It's 2 days. We can fix this in 2 days. You had 2 years, Declan. Every time she overstepped and you looked at me like I was the problem. Every dinner she rearranged. Every decision she made for us that you let stand. You had 2 years of me telling you something was wrong, and you chose every single time to make it easier for her instead of safer for me. I'll go to therapy. You should, but not for me. Nora, go home, Declan. He stood there for a long time. I could hear him breathing, then his footsteps, then the elevator. I sat on the edge of the bed and called Presley. How are you? She asked. He found me. The car. Yeah. You need a different hotel? No. He won't come back. You sure? He's not a fighter. That's the whole problem. At noon, I called Crosby. We talked for 20 minutes. He was practical, which I appreciated. He said if I wanted off the lease cleanly, I could pay a 2-month buyout and sign a release. Declan would need to either assume the lease solo or vacate. Either way, I'd be free of it by the end of the month. I'll send the paperwork this afternoon, he said. Thank you, Crosby. For what it's worth, he added, then stopped. What? Nothing. I'll send the paperwork. By Thursday evening, I had canceled every vendor, notified every guest, removed myself from the lease, forwarded my mail to a P.O. box I'd set up online, scheduled a locksmith to rekey my office, moved my direct deposit to a new checking account Rosalind had never known about, contacted the jeweler, who'd made my engagement ring to inquire about consignment. Each task was a thread, and pulling them didn't unravel me. They unraveled the thing I was supposed to become. Declan's wife, Rosalind's project, a woman who smiled through ceramic roosters and cross-stitched commandments in 7, now 8, pags of designer makeup on a counter that used to be hers. Presley came to the hotel that evening with Thai food and a bottle of wine I didn't drink. You doing okay? She asked. Yeah. You don't have to be. I know. But I am. She looked at me for a long time. Then she nodded. What's next? I'm going to find a place. Something small. Just me. I know a building on Callister Avenue my friend Ramona just moved out. 1 bedroom, east-facing windows. You'd like it. Send me the listing. She pulled out her phone and texted it to me right there. I looked at the photos. Witchcraft floors, white walls, a kitchen with no ceramic roosters. I'll call them tomorrow, I said. Friday, the day before the wedding that wouldn't happen. I woke up at 7, showered in the hotel bathroom that smelled like industrial lavender, put on clean clothes, drove to a coffee shop on Breckenridge Street that I'd never been to with Declan, ordered a flat white, and sat by the window. My phone was quiet. Everyone who might call was blocked. Everyone who mattered had already called. I pulled up the apartment listing Presley had sent. The building was on Callister Avenue, a tree-lined street in the Glenmont district. The unit was on the 3rd floor, $1,200 a month. Available immediately. I called the property manager, a woman named Deirdre, who spoke in short, efficient sentences. I can show it at 2, she said. I'll be there. I went at 2. The apartment was exactly what the photos promised, and nothing more. 1 bedroom, galley kitchen, a bathroom with a single sink, and a mirror with nothing taped to it. I'll take it, I said. Deirdre raised an eyebrow. You don't want to think about it? No. Application takes 48 hours. Can you rush it? She studied me. Whatever she saw, she didn't ask about. I'll see what I can do. By Friday evening, I was approved. First month, last month's security deposit. I wired it from the new account. Clean money. No entanglements. Saturday morning, what would have been the morning of the wedding? Oh, wow. I woke up in the hotel room. The sun was coming through the curtains in that watery, early way that makes everything look temporary. I lay there for a minute, staring at the ceiling. At 8 o'clock, I would have been in a bridal suite at the Ashford estate. Presley would have been zipping my dress. My mother would have been pretending not to cry. Rosalind would have been adjusting something. The flowers, the seating chart, the angle of the unity candle. Instead, I was lying on a hotel bed in a room that charged by the night, and the only thing on my counter was a travel toothbrush and a bar of soap still in its wrapper. I got up, got dressed, checked out. I drove to my new apartment with 1 suitcase. The key was in a lockbox. The unit was empty. My footsteps echoed. I set the suitcase down in the middle of the living room, walked to the window, looked out at Callister Avenue. A man was walking a dog that was too big for him. A woman was carrying groceries. A kid was riding a bike with no hands, wobbling just enough to make it interesting. I stood there for a long time. Then I went to the kitchen, ran the tap until the water was cold, filled a glass I'd brought from the hotel, and drank the whole thing standing up. My phone sat on the counter, silent. Block numbers don't ring. They just accumulate somewhere you'll never check. 41 missed calls and I hadn't heard a single one. The suitcase sat in the middle of the empty room. One suitcase. That's all I'd taken. Everything else, the furniture, the dishes, the books on the shelf, the framed photos, the life-shape thing we'd assembled over 2 years. I'd left it all in a house where a woman I'd never invited was unpacking her linens into my closet. One suitcase was enough. It had always been enough. I finished the water, set the glass in the sink, and started unpacking.